Welcome to Swiftly Spoken, a fan-made Taylor Swift podcast in which we break down her lyrics, deep dive into full album retrospectives, and theorise about what may be coming next. As always, we are your hosts, Lisa and Cameron, and in this episode we'll be reacting to the 3am and Deluxe tracks from the Midnights album, breaking them down and ranking our top 5. After last time in which we reacted and broke down and analysed all of the standard tracks for the Midnights album, we're now going to be getting into those 3am tracks, and also the deluxe ones. There's a lot going on. Like, none of us expected any of this. It was such a surprise. When she said chaotic surprise, she really, really meant it.
I didn't expect this.
Yeah, I
did not expect,
any of us.
basically another album. No.
It basically is. Like, obviously the 3am tracks, there's 7 of them. If we count the deluxe tracks that are on the Lavender Target exclusive deluxe, we have Hits Different and then 2 remixes. So that makes 10 tracks. 10 extra tracks is basically another album.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think because where we'd had the deluxe announcement with the Target edition with Hits Different and the 2 remixes, that was just, I thought, oh yeah, that's the deluxe version. There's not really going to be anything else. So then to get that 3am edition was like, what? Like, I just remember, I remember messaging you being like, there's more songs.
And I was like, I haven't processed,
I barely processed,
yeah.
I was probably on like listen 3, maybe, not even that. And then it was like, oh my god, I've now got like I hadn't even really remembered the sound or lyrics hadn't really stuck or melodies hadn't really properly stuck at that point, let alone then being given all of these other tracks that I didn't. After about 4 listens, I still hadn't really remembered what all the names were of the deluxe tracks. It was so much content to kind of digest, and it's only really now that after a week or so that I feel like I've properly been able to digest standard 3am and also the Target songs.
Definitely.
So yeah, it is kind of a lot.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad that we did give ourselves a few days to kind of process everything before reacting to it, because at the beginning everything kind of just like merged into one big ball for me. She really meant it when she said like these are the 3am tracks. Like Midnights is deep, but these are even deeper. Like these are you stayed up in the night and now you're having these thoughts and they're just like, it's a deep hole, let's just say that. Something that none of us expected. However, some of these tracks are absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that she did this. Can you imagine not being able to have these tracks?
Oh yeah, 100%. It would, obviously we'd never know, but it adds so much more, and like the quality of these is so high that you can totally understand why the 3am version was released. Because if I was Taylor and I had these songs, I would think like, I can't just never put these out. And the thing that it makes me think, and obviously thankfully with Taylor's versions we are getting those, but it is almost like what other songs are there that just never made the album that
I know
desperately deserve to?
It makes me nervous. Because even
when you think of 100%, and when you think of like Red Taylor's versions, some of the, like Nothing New and stuff like that, like you just think, how the hell didn't that make the standard edition of Red or even the deluxe edition of Red? And then Babe, Better Man, like the fact, it's just mental. It's exciting that it's almost like getting, and Taylor even said that with the kind of the release of the Vault tracks and stuff, that she really liked showing you the entire creative experience and other stuff that was being created. So I'm really glad that she's done this. And then it makes me think, what stuff was like left off of Evermore, Folklore, Lover?
I do kind of think that Lover, like considering like from Lover onwards, because obviously prior to that we are eventually going to get Vault tracks, we think, but from Lover onwards I do think that she kind of did include as much as she possibly could. Lover is a very long album anyway. We know of 2 cut songs, as we said in our Reputation Vault track episode. We might get them if there's a bit of crossover for maybe Folklore and Evermore. I do think Evermore is the Vault tracks, you know what I mean, like Evermore includes the Vault tracks to some sense of Folklore. Carolina could also be kind of interpreted as a folk track. As a folklore Vault track,
And I was thinking Only the Young is technically a Lover one as well.
That's true. In a way, she has Christmas Tree Farm. Like, she's just been making things and dropping them. And the thing about Taylor, like you said, the quality is so high that these songs are literally as good as, if not better, than some of what many artists would consider the standard. Okay, so now we're going to get into all of these songs and go one by one, giving our reactions, opinions, breaking them down, starting off with The Great War, which, what an amazing song. I love this song.
I love this song.
Yeah, it's just such a good addition. It's just the level of lyricism, the metaphor that she creates, amazing. What did you think about it when you first heard it?
First listen, yeah, absolutely loved. I could just instantly tell that it was an Aaron kind of production.
Right.
It feels very Evermore. I just love it. I really, really love it. And I love in the chorus, the like, as. I don't know, I just really love the production, and it feels a bit more experimental, and I think maybe that's why it was left off of Midnights. It feels kind of, even though I actually really like Closure now, but initially was a bit taken back by the Closure's production. Great War is almost like the Closure track of Midnights, that the production's a little bit like, oh, this is a bit different. But I really love it, and Aaron, I think, just does a gorgeous job, and I'm so glad that with these 3am tracks, we got Aaron,
my beloved. Yes.
Yeah,
I love song him. Is definitely them at their best, the combination of Taylor and Aaron working together, but just Aaron Dessner, the way that he produces songs and whatever he does and whatever part that he has in making these songs it's just so good.
Yeah, and the metaphors and stuff that Taylor always kind of in her lyrics with Aaron tracks are just so gorgeous.
That's what I was going to say. In general, the 3am tracks are much more metaphorical, and they do bridge this gap between the Folklore Evermore tracks and Midnight's tracks. Yeah, the ones that she does with Aaron are just the metaphors that she goes to. I don't know, there's something that them working together, how creative, like the lyricism that she comes up with is so creative. It's just so good.
I love it. I really do love it. And where do you think this kind of fits in the Midnights of Taylor's life?
The Great War itself tells the story through obviously a metaphorical veil of a war, but it is essentially a fight between lovers, and the drama of it all, turning it into the Great War, equivalating it to this massive fight, and the way that she goes through it is just so good. But yeah, I would say that this is probably, I obviously relate this to Afterglow.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
They're probably talking about that same moment, so I would say somewhere around the Lover era, pre-Lover era.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking maybe even pre-Reputation, maybe when.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Because Taylor, even within like Cornelia Street, she said that she mentions about like how she thought at the start of the relationship that he was just kind of playing games, and she kind of tried to bolt it. So yeah, I think I was kind of getting Afterglow, that bit in Cornelia Street, and maybe. I feel like this would be something that you would feel maybe at the or maybe not right at the start of a relationship, but earlier on, maybe 3-4 months in, kind
definitely,
of thing. So
because we get kind of her insecurities creeping in and affecting that relationship, where she hasn't really established what kind of a person he is and how the relationship is going to move forward. Yeah, I agree with you there. I do think it has been explored a lot in Lover, but it's probably more of a beginning stage.
But also I love, after the bridge, one of my favourite kind of sections is the We Plant a Memory Garden, Say a Solemn Prayer, Place a Poppy in My Hair, and then it says we will never go back, and then it's like to the bloodshed. I really love the
so
kind of
good. The
progression of it.
Yeah, and I love the way that we have this in a lot of Taylor songs, and we're going to see it a couple of times in the 3am songs, where she changes things in the pre-chorus so the storytelling makes sense. Because obviously we're going to go back into the chorus of Bloodshed, Crimson Clover, to be able to justify that, like you just said, we will never go back to, and then she can sing that part again. That is such good songwriting, like where you can follow this story and it kind of switches up these little lines to make it all make sense and all tie itself together in this perfect little bow. Just to get into that extended metaphor and like the words that she uses. Obviously, she uses a lot of semantic fields about war. It's just amazing how she's taken all of this vocabulary and adapted it. Even the thing of the
poppies.
Yes, that's another thing. She uses 3 different flowers. So at the beginning, her knuckles are bruised like violets, which is a very visual image. Obviously, we have Crimson and Clover, which apart from being a clever kind of combination of words, it could be related to Crimson and Clover, the war song, the Vietnam War song by Tommy Jones and the Shondells, which I don't know of, but just that, like,
neither do I.
It adds another layer, which is so interesting. And then, yes, as you said, we have the poppy reference, which obviously is like a warn to remember First World War. And then just after that, she says, there's no morning glory, which is another flower. It was war, it wasn't fair. Amazing.
She's just so clever. And one of my other favourite lyrics is, but diesel is desire, you were playing with fire. I just love the way that it's like, it just shows the kind of danger. That's the thing I love with Taylor, is something so simple. Like, a normal person would just be like, you were just being a bit dangerous, or you were being a bit reckless.
Yeah, you
Taylor
were
says it's such a poet. Yeah, you were kind of, walking
close
on
to the
daggers.
line.
It was,
Yeah.
You're in danger a bit. But Taylor just always says it in such a poetic way, but diesel is desire, you were playing with fire. It's just, I don't know, I just really admire her songwriting so much, and I think this is a real standout, and one that I think is being slightly overlooked.
Definitely.
I'm not really seeing much love for the Great War at the moment.
I've started to see people get into it more because it is a lot to take in. Every single line means something different. You said it takes a minute, and obviously I think another big thing is moving from those standard tracks to the 3am tracks is a bit of a leap. It really is.
Yeah.
The next song on the 3am tracks is Bigger Than the Whole Sky, which again is a heart-wrenching song. It really, really is. It's difficult in the same vein that Ronan and Soon You'll Get Better are difficult to listen to. This is the same for me. It's just so sad. It really is.
Oh yeah. It's just even just the opening of like no words, just the thing of like there's just nothing left to say, and that image of salt streams out of my eyes and into my ears. It's just, you can picture that person on the floor in tears, and they're kind of tears.
Yeah, not even wiping away because they're so distraught.
It is so heartbreaking, and then even one of the lines that says like, so I'll say words I don't believe, goodbye. It's just, every time I listen, it just gives me goosebumps because it's so incredibly sung, but also the message is just so kind of poignant and sad, but it is a real tough one to listen to, and sometimes if I'm not in the mood I do have to skip it. But it's just gorgeous,
very emotionally taxing. I can imagine it was very emotionally taxing for her to sing as well. The song itself talks about loss, the effects that come after an untimely death, and just asking yourself like, why did this happen? Could I have done something to stop this from happening, which obviously is something that's beyond our control, especially the message being conveyed here. But that doesn't stop you from asking yourself these questions like, did some force take you because I didn't pray? Did some bird flap its wings over Asia? Like, is this the butterfly effect?
Yeah, no, it is just so sad, but again is a really strong lyrical song, and I'm seeing a lot of love for this song. I think a lot of people have really been kind of touched by this, and I think it can relate to lots of different
experiences,
kind of situations of loss. Yeah, like whether that's loss of relationship, end of relationship, loss of family, friends, kind of it just relates to all sorts of things, and obviously death.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it's a really kind of universal, I think, emotion, and it's just so poetically put as ever by Taylor. Everything is just so gorgeously written, and this one is definitely one that the standard is so high that this, for most normal artists, would be deemed a standard track because it's so
this would be not just a standard track. I think this would be deemed like a standout track. You know what I mean?
100%. Rather than just like a casual, here's some more tracks.
Yeah, they did a really good job on this one to approach such a touchy subject in such a beautiful way. Really, this one and Dear Reader, both of them to me read a lot like poetry, like not just lyrics.
Oh yeah,
like they're literal poems, which we'll get into more when we reach Dear Reader.
Which is interesting. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's interesting because of another lyric later on. But yeah, I do agree that I would love for Taylor to write like a poetry book or something like that. Like Kelsey Ballerini did a poetry book that was almost like. It was all poems. It was nothing but that, but they were like poems about her life and stuff that she hasn't discussed, and it was almost like a autobiography in the form of a poetry book. It was just so incredible. I'm not someone that really likes poetry. I've always kind of been a bit, I don't know, I've much preferred, even though songwriting and poetry is basically the same thing, it's just one has a melody. For some reason I've just always been a bit, not too sure about it, but I absolutely adore Kelsey's poetry book and read it often. I think it's such a cool way of doing an autobiography in a very creative way, and someone that's a songwriter is obviously incredibly creative anyway. So I would love for Taylor to do something like that. Lana Del Rey's also done it herself. I think she's released a poetry book, a spoken word book, I think that was. So I would love for Taylor to do something like that.
And now moving from one song that's very heart-wrenching, we go into a very, very different one. Like, she gave me Lover tracklist type of whiplash.
Yes.
Moving from Bigger Than the Whole Sky into Paris, which is our next song.
Paris, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get into this one. So last time around, I had to convince you or kind of defend a couple of songs. And this time around, it's your turn, because Paris, I know you love. For me, it's just not a fave. I don't know.
I don't know why, because I loved Paris before I knew that it was a because I remember saying to you, like, why is everyone not liking Paris? Like, I was just like, what? Because I liked it from first listen. There was no, like with Taylor, obviously, her discography as she is, which I'm really glad that she's done, as she's done recently, is kind of split it into 3 different kind of categories. Those is glitter gel pen songs, and obviously those are just kind of fun pop moments with things like Shake It Off, Gorgeous, and Me, I would also classify as one of those.
Definitely.
And some of them are good, some of them, we can debate. But I think that Paris is just the perfect example of that. I think people are taking it, I think because Taylor's songwriting is so kind of complex and metaphorical, that people overanalyze stuff, and sometimes it's just nice to just have a song that it's just fun. It hasn't really got too much to say. You don't have to overly think about it. It's just a fun song that, you just enjoy listening to and has a nice beat. Not everything has to be like deep and
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just listen to a song just because it's fun to listen to, and I think that for me, I just quite liked Paris. I quite liked the first verse with the some wannabe-y lister, and just the way she pronounced stuff was quite fun. And then even just the kind of pre-chorus of like, I'm so in love that I might stop breathing. It's just so overly dramatic, and I just kind of, I don't know, I just quite liked it. Like, I'm not trying to make out like it's Taylor's best song ever. The chorus itself is a little bit bland. I'm not going to lie, that's probably my least favourite part of the song. It's just like we were in Paris, like we were somewhere else, like we were in Paris. It's, that I can see, it's not her most lyrically rich song, but it's just quite fun. I just think it's quite fun, and I think that people maybe are just taking it a bit too...
Yeah, no, I do get exactly what you mean, and it is a song that I guess it's because of the contrast of what comes before and what comes after, that it kind of, you just kind of get it, and it's just like, oh, okay. We're in the Lover era for a second, which is fine. Exactly. It's fine, and I get it. And I have seen, I have to say, a lot of love and a lot of defense toward this track, and I do get it. It is sweet. Again, it has that progression, that Taylor progression, where she changes slight lyrics and just changes the whole song, which I absolutely love. And I do think it's really sweet. Like, she's imagining they were in Paris. She's drawing this imaginary map on his ceiling, and then they end up
back to a lyric in Lavender Haze, actually.
Yeah, staring at the ceiling with you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then they end up actually in Paris, in the streets, and we know that that's a true thing. Like, that we have pictures from the Lover era where she and Joe are in Paris, and they do look like they're having a really sweet and lovely time, and this is the proof of that. It is really, really sweet, and I do like it. Like, it is a complex song, even though it is a gel pen song. A glitter gel pen. It doesn't mean that it's bad. I'm not saying that. But I think for me, it was just the contrast of it all.
I've seen some people though say that they've blocked it on their Spotify.
Oh wow,
so they,
no,
will not come up.
We need to have a bit of fun sometimes. Come on.
Yeah, it's like they're like, it's the worst Taylor Swift song ever, and I'm like, that's a little bit dramatic. There's a certain lead single from the Lover era that takes that spot. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a little bit dramatic. We haven't got any spelling is fun moments on this. No. It's actually quite good fun, and this is coming from someone that normally hates glitter gel.
I was about to say, I think it proves
stay is not my vibe.
Exactly. I'm the one who's hating, and you're the one who's out here defense squad. Because usually it's the other way around with this type of romantic-y, lovey-dovey song. But even so, I just really do think it's really sweet, and you can tell she's having so much fun. Like the way, like what you said, the way she's pronouncing words, and not the kind that's thrown. I mean, the kind underwear a tree has grown.
Yeah, it's just quite sassy. Yeah, and even the bridge where it's like, I want to brainwash you into loving me forever. Yeah. I don't know. It just, the lyrics, they are quite fun and kind of not overly deep, and it kind of just reminds me a little bit of very early unreleased Taylor songs where it's just kind of like, oh, I love you so much.
I can understand, and I do think there is a place for Paris in Midnights and in general in her discography, because we need this type of song. It's true.
And imagine if she tours in when she announces eventually the tour, and if she tours in Paris, how cool that would be to sing a song like this in Paris.
This moment is going to be the London boy of France. It's going to be amazing for them. Like, yeah,
I don't think it should be
cool.
on standard set list at all. Like, do not put Paris on the standard set list, because as much as I enjoy it,
there's just so much. There's just so much to choose from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 100 million other songs I would much prefer to have on the set list. But if she's going to be in Paris, this has got to be played, because it's so fun. It's like when she played Welcome to New York for the Amazon Prime show.
It really is. Moving on to the next song on the 3am tracks, it's High Infidelity. Another very, very heavy, loaded song. It's a banger. I love it.
Interesting song, yes. Very interesting. Again, another Aaron track.
Yes. Oh, I just adore them together.
Interesting. This one, again, the honesty is just on another level. Like, generally, I don't know. I was quite shocked when I first heard this song. I was just kind of like, oh, okay.
It really is, and it's funny because of all the rumours going around at the moment and the Easter eggs that we know of for Speak Now, Taylor's version. I do think Midnight's is so similar to Speak Now. Both of them.
Yeah, because it's almost like, the things that you didn't say, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like things that you didn't say or things that you're thinking about at Midnight's, which include a lot of things that you may not have said. But both of them are albums that are best consumed as whole. Both of them are very emotionally laid bare albums. Both of them are very lyrically driven albums, although Midnight's does have a very, very different production. I think there's a lot of similarities between them, and it makes sense about what may be coming whenever it does. Yeah, this one is such a honest song, and it just goes to show how much she trusts Aaron with her music, just as much as she trusts Jack at this point, I think. And give us a date.
Yeah.
It's very Speak Now.
Yes. Do you really want to know where I was? April 29th, which is the release date of This Is What You Came For.
Yes, yeah.
Which is very interesting. She couldn't have been more kind of obvious about what this is discussing.
Oh, yeah.
And the honesty, you know, like High Infidelity, she was honest. Like, and then it's, I just love how she's just like, what, do you want me to, like, draw out the constellation in his eyes? Like, do you need me to tell you how he brought it back? Like, is it not obvious enough? You know? Like,
is it not obvious enough that you are just, like, killing me on the inside and this man's kind of was the opposite? Like,
people also suggesting that, obviously, April 29th may also be the night when Taylor and her current boyfriend, obviously Joe, maybe met for the first time. Or one of the first times. I think it was Gigi Hadid's 21st birthday party. So there's a lot that this kind of, I think because, as we discussed in our last episode, this period in Taylor's life, Met Gala, 2016 Met Gala, that moment in time is honestly the most pivotal time in Taylor's kind of career, especially,
it really is.
And then kind of general life, because so much happened, obviously, with Calvin, Tom, Joe, then all of the Kanye, Kim stuff. It's just really interesting what happened, and I think that High Infidelity, because it's so complicated that year, that 2016, the summer of the apocalypse, I think that High Infidelity, it's just really interesting to kind of get another song. I know that lots of people have been like, oh, she keeps writing songs about that time. It's like, yeah, because so much happened, and weirdly, she hasn't actually mentioned it that much.
No.
All we've really had is like Getaway Car. That's kind of the only thing that actually mentions that time.
And it's a way for her to process it. I really do think she needs to process it, and this is just, like, I think this song and the next song, Glitch, they're so much related. Yeah, it's obvious that she's going to keep going back to this time in her life, because it's a way for her to process it. She's never, like, this is our introduction to, except for what I said in our last episode, our proper introduction to the main subject, or one of the subjects of this song. During Reputation, she never breached the subject of her relationship with Calvin Harris, and it makes sense because it must have been so raw, and even though she was in a much happier place by the time Reputation rolled around, you know?
Well, the fact that even in, like, Miss Americana, she said that when she won that Grammy,
she was on her own.
She got to the top and looked around and was like, I'm by myself, there's no one that I've done this with. And, you know, and she was in a relationship at the time, and that's just so sad. But what I do quite like about the lyrics is just that even though obviously it's discussing something that is slightly controversial, she just palms it off. I just love the way that it's just like, yeah, get over it. Like, you treated me like crap.
Yeah, so what should you expect?
So yeah, guess what? I moved on with my life. Like, and I just love that, I was dancing around, which is kind of a slight kind of hint to that infamous Met Gala video. So yeah, I really like High Infidelity. It's not
definitely
one of my favourites.
Oh no, it is for me. I think it's such a good song. Yeah, really? I mean, again, she's using so much metaphor and imagery, this time from music, very purposefully, of course, because we know, it's about a musician in the end. So High Infidelity is a play on words from high fidelity, which is hi-fi, which is, the highest level of recordings.
Yeah.
Then we have Dancing Around the Truth, which obviously plays around with dancing around the truth, but also, like you said, physically dancing. Put on your records and regret me, obviously records. Put on your headphones and burn my city, which she pronounces very similarly to burn my CD. Again, just that little play on words, the way that she's talking about so much musical, the semantic field of music, it just elevates this another level for me. And then, of course, we get the marriage rumors in here again.
Yes.
Good husband, dragged my feet right down the aisle.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
That this is a recurring theme.
Yeah.
Is this kind of, forced
rejected
proposal.
Yeah.
And rejection, which is interesting. And might just be, again, something that is just more of a lyrical description.
Yeah, like a dramatization
clear way of describing
the truth.
Something. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I do think a lot was expected from her in that relationship. It was her longest relationship. And as she said, it seemed like the right thing at the time. But going forward, she realised you were keeping count of all of these things. Your picket fence is sharp as knives. Yeah, it's such a telling song. And one last thing, the lyrical parallels, or the parallels in general, with Ivy gave me chills.
Yes. I never even thought of that. Especially about the burning.
Exactly. Yes. And your opal eyes are all I wish to see. And then here we have, do you really want me to chart the constellation in his eyes?
Constellation in his eyes. Oh my god, yes. I never thought of that.
It's the same story, but told through different metaphors and kind of more plainly. But if you listen to them both, it really just goes to show how much Folklore and Evermore, though they were kind of marketed as, oh no, it's just stories of other people's lives, it's characters, they had so much of her in them. They really did.
Oh, 100%. I think that would be almost impossible not to. For someone that basically her whole life has written incredibly autobiographical songs, and that's how she copes with feeling stuff, it would be almost impossible, even though obviously majority of those songs are kind of more fictional. There's elements of Taylor, and I think that especially with Evermore, much more so than Folklore, Taylor is definitely weaved into those tracks way more than I think that people realise, because obviously what she can do is pull from personal experience and then expand on that and then create a character from that experience that maybe is a more dramatic experience to the one she had, or be like, oh, okay, so I felt that way about that, so if this person was going through that, they would feel, I think that, that's 100% true. And I feel like, especially in Folklore as well, but personally I do feel like Evermore for me, Taylor, has a lot more kind of Taylor kind of stories weaved into those fictional ones in comparison to Folklore. Obviously certain things like, no body, no crime, definitely not. But, later on, I think second half of the album definitely on Evermore is a lot more personal than people.
Next up we have Glitch. So what's your opinions about this one?
I did like Glitch. Again, it's not... I understand why this one is a 3am and not a standard, personally.
Okay.
And I do like it, but I don't know, for me, at the moment, it's not a favourite. It's really not. In comparison to the other tracks that we've discussed so far,
right, okay,
this one is probably a least favourite at the moment. The little jump scare.
I love that bit.
There's a little jump scare. I'm like, oh my god, every time.
I think this one you can tell is a Jack Antonoff track as well, because I find that with Jack tracks, the production is so very much related to the lyrics and how, like what she's talking about. So in this one, obviously, we have, she thinks there's been a glitch. Like there's been a moment where she shouldn't have ended up with who she ended up with, but she was lucky enough to, and it must have been something's gone wrong, which is funny because it directly contrasts with Mastermind, where she says, "Nah, I planned it all. This was my design." But
this
also,
is the thing that I find so weird.
there's been a glitch.
Triangle of like, I find it so weird, that triangle with Mastermind and then Invisible String, and Glitch, because they all contradict each other, like all of them totally. Because it's like Invisible String, as we mentioned in the last episode, is like, all along, there was this fate. We were linked together, and our strings were going to meet, and that that was like part of fate. Then Mastermind was like, actually, I planned it all. That's why we're together. Then Glitch is like, later, I didn't really want to be
Like, I never expected this. It must be fake.
And then
it can't be real.
Oops, it happened. Yeah. Oops, it happened. I'm like, oh, thank God for that happening, you know? So it's just weird that she kind of has... But I think, to be fair, they do still work, because I think it's like, Invisible String is like, yeah, they met, they did meet. Then from that point onwards as Mastermind, she was like, okay, I want this to work. And then Glitch was like, oh my God, it has worked.
She's exploring this through different lenses and through different ways of explaining it, and the way that it's so well explained in every single song, it just makes sense. Like, you know that she's told the story before, but you still get extra little parts of the story. You still get like little things that she adds that makes the song so much different to the other ones. So like you said, just those 3 songs, they're just so different in tone, in lyrical content, in the metaphors used, but yet they're telling you the same story, really. How I feel about Glitch is that it's gorgeous, but just even drunker. Like, she's gone into the deep part of the night where she's not just like messing around like, haha, your accent. Now she's like, oh my God. And when she sings that first verse, it even sounds like she's a bit like slurry, depending on what's in my system.
Friends. Yeah, which is, interesting. I hadn't really thought of that. And another lyric that I really love is the it's been 2,190 days of our love, which is like so
such a random
psychotic.
It really is. It's like
exactly,
I've counted every single day.
It's like 2,198 days and 23 minutes. You know, like, it is just like, oh my God, she's keeping count, which is interesting because obviously the song before it's like, oh, didn't realize you were keeping count.
But it's a very different type of keeping count, of course. Yeah,
like, and then it links with things like So It Goes, where she's like 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, that's so good.
It's interesting that there's lots of counting going on.
Yes, and for very different reason. Oh my God, I hadn't realised that. The contrast between them and one being after the other, that's amazing. Yep.
And then it's obviously equivalates to like, what's it, 6 years of their relationship? And it was almost like, I swear, when the release of Midnight, the 2,198 days of their love was literally like 20 something days before Midnight's was released or something ridiculous. Which
is interesting because she might have just been estimating or like doing around 6 years because it is their 6-year anniversary. But it could also mean that she wrote it around that period, and perhaps these 3am tracks were indeed a continuation of work, but one that she didn't expect to kind of release at this time. And that's why, for example, we haven't got physicals as of yet. I really do hope we're getting them.
I'd love to know. I would love to know what kind of started, what was kind of the first song that was written, and then what kind of the chronological order of when these songs were written, because I'd just be really intrigued about, what came when, and how long ago certain stuff was done, or if stuff was done more recently. It is very interesting, all of that time kind of span of when it was written.
Track 19 on the 3am edition of Midnights is Would've, Could've, Should've, which was very surprising to hear. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, honestly.
I first listened, it went over me and I didn't really realise. And then it was only until I kind of went online and was like, oh my God, how the hell didn't I pick up on that? And now, obviously, it's like, you know what I mean? It couldn't be more obvious. Like, Speak Now Taylor is alive and well.
Oh, she had something to say. She had like, something to say.
I honestly think she was re-recording Speak Now and was like, actually,
this was wrong.
Yeah, I've got way more to say. This was not fair. This was not appropriate.
No.
Why was I the one that was then gaslighted and told, I
was in the wrong.
That's cheap songwriting. You know what I mean? Like, all of that. Imagine calling Dear John cheap songwriting. Embarrassing.
No, I could, like, it makes me so angry the way that she was treated, not just by in the relationship, but also from the outside. Like, this man was 32 and she was 19.
Yeah, 19.
Like, why no one was...
teenager.
Exactly. Yeah, no one was up in arms about this. I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so glad that she's actually been like, no, that was not appropriate. I just wish that I hadn't have gone with that, and I wish that and again, this is the clearest song where I've kind of said before in the previous episode and this episode about that Midnights is all about that. A lot of it is really interesting because it's about looking back as a more grown person with more experience on a situation, and Would've, Could've, Should've is the epitome of that. With looking back and being like, no, that is not appropriate. Like, why did you do that? And I think that bridge where she says, like, give me back my girlhood, it was mine first, it's just so heartbreaking. Like, because it's like you took that away from someone.
Yep.
And yeah,
you threw her into this world that it was just not, she wasn't ready for it. Like, and the way that lyric is also worded, it is kind of like, in a way, like childish, like, quote unquote, like, give it back to me, it was mine first. Like, you know what I mean? When you're fighting with someone when you're smaller and you say, that was mine first.
Yeah. And it links with other lyrics of like, and if I was a child, did it matter if you got to wash your hands?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like, you got away with it and I was tainted by the whole experience.
100%. And then all the like kind of things of death, of like poison, dancing with the devil,
a lot of
God's on. It's lots of religious
imagery. Yeah. This one is like the previous ones have all had these images in them. This one lends itself to religious imagery, which is so interesting. All I used to do was pray, dance with the devil. It felt like heaven. God rest my soul. I could have gone along with the righteous. Your crisis of my faith. It has a lot of religious imagery, which, you know, you can kind of understand why, being that age and, you know, talking about the themes that it does talk about.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that final outro, oh my God, it's just so good. Like, I just love it, the way that she says it. It's just, the anger. It's so heartbreaking, this song.
The anger. Yeah. It's like heartbreaking, but it's angry.
Yeah, because it's just like, why did you do this? Like, and I love as well, you know, the kind of saying of like, oh, you know, whenever someone's accused of something, especially a man, it's always like, oh, but you know, a promising young man, like they had so much potential and now they've kind of gone and screwed it. I love that it's like on a promising grown man.
Like, you should have known.
You were old enough. Yeah, you were
Links
old
to
enough
Dear
to
John.
know this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So I love the parallels. I love the honesty, and I think she had every right to say this because it was inappropriate. That relationship was inappropriate, and I'm glad that she's looked back and been like, that was not right what you did. And then I think just the fallout of it was just not right either. The fact that, you know, she was still 19, and people were still being like, oh, you know, you've done
slut shaming her.
It's like, 100%. As she said in that Vogue 73 questions, where she said that you'll become a national lightning rod for slut shaming, which is true. And I just think it's so sad that this happens to 19-year-old.
Yeah, and I do honestly think Dear John was, because it was so honest, laid bare. I mean, it has the name in the song, but obviously in a very clever way.
Obviously does relate to the
Dear John letters,
Dear John letter,
but the way that song, it seems, kind of was the spark towards a lot of criticism towards her. Oh, she only writes about breakups. Oh, she'll be with you to write a breakup song about you. Oh, be careful with her, which was amped up by Dear John himself. I'm sorry, but it was like he to write her an email and say, oh, you know, whatever, it's cheap songwriting, and to be so angry about it. No, deal with the consequences of what you did to a 19-year-old.
Yeah, all she did was say Dear John. All she did was write this song, and then all he's done continually is dissed her songwriting. Even in the Lover era, he was joking about the song Lover, and it's just like, who do you think you are? Like, Lover is like one of the best lyrically written songs. Like, she wrote the entirety of Speak Now by herself as a teenager. So I'm so glad that she's kind of got the final word again of, actually, no. Yeah. Before I release Speak Now, which is probably going to have loads of vault tracks
which
that
is
have
about
a lot to say as well.
End you anyway.
Yeah. I'm also going to just mention that this was not appropriate, and I agree.
The funny thing of it all is that Would Have, Could Have, Should Have has just debuted on the Billboard chart at like 20 or something like that. It's in the top 20, and Mr. John Mayer hasn't had a top 20 track since about 2009. So
yeah, it is interesting, and I think what's so sad is that obviously this happened to 19-year-old Taylor, and then we know what happened to 21-year-old Taylor. Literally the next relationship after. I know. It's just like, oh, poor girl couldn't catch a break, and she couldn't. And it's so lovely. That's what I think that's then so lovely about songs like Paris, is that
is true.
Now
the contrast.
She has these just songs that are, you know, and she's with someone that treats her lovely, and it's just fun and nice, you know what I mean, rather than anything that's, you know, very kind of toxic, but I do just love this song because it does feel very Speak Now. Just
Definitely.
Even though kind of Aaron produced it, just the way that it's sung, the open honesty of the lyrics, and the timestamp of the age as well. I don't know. I really, really, really love Would Have, Should Have, Could Have, and I think that this song is probably one of the ones that I'm like, why isn't this on the standard?
It's incredible, but I do
so
think
good.
it is she's deeply hurt by this, understandably so, and I think that it's so laid bare that it must have been scary to even put it on the 3am tracks, honestly.
Oh yeah, I think that from someone that for 3 years has been very kind of has taken a step back from writing very honest songwriting, and then obviously with the release of Red, unfortunately, because that is the majority of the album is about a very specific relationship. And as she said, obviously these are not paternity tests, and it's not about who it is or isn't about, but at the end of the day it's very clear who it is or isn't about, and her emotions towards that are very clear. It must be then, I think then the release of Red maybe would have been quite hard maybe on someone that had taken a step back from all of that, because obviously it then pulls up previous relationships, and with the release of Speak Now it's obviously going to
happen, yeah. But I think she's more she's adapted herself to be able to do so now, and I think in a way
she's
it's
in a
really
different
helpful.
place. Yeah, exactly. I think that it's good to rewrite the narrative, and I think that with the release of Taylor's versions and the release of Midnight, she can kind of rewrite it and be like, no, actually, with more growth, I've realised that this is the situation, rather than just being in a heartbroken situation.
Yeah, and being like, I'm shining like fireworks over your sad empty town, but actually you left a scar on me that has lasted
a long time.
The last song that we have on the 3am edition of Midnights is Dear Reader, which we mentioned this, but to come back to it, I do think it's the most poetic of the songs in general on this album, 100%. But in general, like the whole discography of Taylor, I don't know, it's just, it reads like a poem, it sounds like a poem, and
it sounds very spoken word.
Yeah, and the interesting thing of it is she's not saying dear listener, she's saying dear reader, which it's breaking the fourth wall between her and people receiving the message. And it really reminds me a lot, there's a lot of parallels between this song and the Reputation era poems. It has a lot of that similar...
Yes, I forget we have actually had some poetry from Taylor, haven't we? Yes, we've had 3 poems so far, yeah, I'd totally forgotten about that. When I was banging on about, I really wish Taylor would have a poetry book. She's released 3, Cameron, like, come on.
How did you feel about this song? Because I am struggling with it, although I do love the message. Like, sonically, it's very difficult for me.
Yes, I totally agree. This one, again, I feel like there's a reason why this wasn't on the standard.
Right.
Again, I'm not seeing lots of discussion about it. I think weirdly, even though it's a great song and I do enjoy it, it's weirdly hard to digest in a strange way. It's not one that I'm going back to. It's not one that I feel like is a closer. I'm not really very keen on the fact that it closes out the 3am edition of Midnights in comparison to like Mastermind, which is like the perfect closer. This one doesn't feel like it wraps up anything or ties up any loose ends. I don't know, I'm not really too sure how I'm feeling about it yet. I think I'm going to need more time with it than a week, because at this moment it's kind of been over a week now.
Yeah.
Just over a week, and I don't know, I'm not too sure.
I think it's a very heavy song to process from the point of view, especially of us as fans, because, she's given us advice and we've taken it for many, many years now. And to have someone be like, you should find another, I'm not the one to give you the advice. But I do think that that's kind of like the intrusive thoughts that we get throughout Midnights, and that we get a lot of her insecurities. Because it's funny, throughout all of the verses, she's giving us advice. She's telling us, you're bend but snap when you have to, just like I have. You don't have to answer because they ask you. You don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. Be careful with this, be careful with that. And then she comes to the chorus, which is so heartbreaking, but just don't take advice from me because I'm an unreliable narrator. I'm someone who's falling apart, which again reminds me of those Reputation poems, darling, if you're anything like me. And then we get to the bridge, which is definitely very, very harrowing.
Yes.
And I think that's why it's so difficult for us as listeners and as fans to process. And even in the outro, though, she does give us that, but I shine so bright. Yeah, I think it's difficult because
I'm thinking again, maybe Reputation, what kind of era is
I definitely relate it a lot to the poems that we got pre-rep. I definitely do. I'm seeing a lot of parallels, and I think a lot of people are reading into that as well. But yeah, it's just so heartbreaking. No one sees when you lose when you're playing solitaire, because you play solitaire,
Play by yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
It is very sad. It is sad, yeah. I don't know. I'm really not sure about this one.
Yeah, I think
it's more time.
Yeah, we need to process it, and it's hard to process. And it must have been very hard for her to write as well. So now we move out of the 3am edition tracks, and we move into the Lavender Target Deluxe edition, where we have the first and last new song, which is Hits Different. How do you feel about Hits Different?
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Taylor, Aaron, Jack, like, it couldn't be more perfect. And this is the perfect example of just a glitter gel pen song. Like, oh my god, it is so fun, so upbeat, so old Taylor in the best way ever.
I've seen a lot of people talk about the Fearless Speak Now-y era Taylor coming through on this
Exactly,
song.
That's what it sounds like, but I'm feeling like some of these lyrics relate so heavily to 1989. You made a mess of me, like with the clean, you're still all over me.
Okay.
Like waiting for a bus that never shows is giving me New Romantics. We're waiting for trains that just aren't coming.
Oh my god, yes.
Then obviously the little link of like our song, which I love. And I don't know, and even just the fun lyrics of like, I used to switch out all these Kens, now I just ghost. I just love it.
You're right, I think it's because it's like this really great pop moment, which Aaron on pop, we love to see it. We love to see it. It really works. I do think that there's a combination of past Taylors coming together to make this song.
100%. It is like all the old Taylors coming together and like creating this song, and then other things that are giving me 1989 vibes. Like I heard your key in the door down the hallway. Is that your key in the door? It's kind of reminding me of like I wish you would, of like just wanting them to show up at your door, and then like the come take me away is like just remind me of take me home. And even the way she says it, where she says like, or have they come to take me away, and then she says like to take me away, and then goes into the chorus, is like just screams like that final style chorus. I just love this song so much, and I cannot believe that it's only on a Target.
I know.
It's a deluxe CD.
I think it really does equivalent in my head to something like New Romantics. The way it's so it's pure pop, and it's such good pop.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like hidden away from us in this
exactly. It's like New Romantics is like the most 1989 track that could ever happen,
and it's hidden away.
On the standard, it's like on the deluxe version. It's just mental, and that's how I feel about Hits Different. Like Hits Different, out of all of these deluxe tracks, I think, along with Would've, Could've, Should've, to be honest, and to be fair, as well as Bigger Than the Whole Sky, I kind of feel like these deserve to be standard. Like Hits Different is so good, so fun, and just so pop. Like that's the pop moment on the album, like, is Hits Different. I just love it so much, and just it's just like even stupid lines of like, I pictured you with other girls in love, and then threw up on the street. It's just so visceral. It's just so dramatic. I absolutely
it's a good
love
song.
it.
It really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this one I love because I've been banging on about metaphor all the way through, and on this one the bridge literally says, I don't need another metaphor, it's simple enough, you're the one that I loved. Really like it, and I love the verse before the last chorus where you mention the key in the door, and they're like, have they come to take me away? Like, am I mental for thinking all these things?
Am I crazy?
Yeah, it's so good.
It's just that final chorus from that to take me away, and then oh, my love is a lie. It's so fun. I really, really love this song, like, generally so much. I cannot wait. At the moment, I still haven't got my Lavender CD.
No, neither
have I. Can't wait till I can properly get it and properly burn the CD and put it on my phone so I can actually properly listen to it. Because at the moment they're holding it off of streaming. I'm not too sure. And they're being really thingy about, like, even it on YouTube, like, it's just being taken down.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not too sure whether they're going, what's going to happen with
There's
it. I'm hoping that it's going to be
a contract going on with Target that is very well done, but also very well protected. And I guess that's why these last three songs I haven't processed as much either, because obviously we have to listen from links to links to links, even though we're both waiting on the CDs, which is a shame. But yeah, I think that's why I haven't completely processed these last three we're going to speak about.
Me too. Hits Different at the moment I've probably listened to about 10 times max, which is nothing.
Yeah, not that much considering how much.
But it is still really standing out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the more time we have with it, the better it will get, honestly. And that leads us to the last two songs on the whole thing, the whole of Midnights. We've finally got there, which are the remixed versions of You're On Your Own Kid and Sweet Nothing. For You're On Your Own Kid, we have a string remix version, and for Sweet Nothing, we have a piano remixed version. Now, again, I haven't listened to these much. However, for me, like, I guess maybe I anticipated something different. Like, maybe my standards were high because I was thinking, is this going to be like top tier level State of Grace acoustic version type of remix? And they kind of fell short for me. Like, it is nice to hear them with more pulled back versions, and I appreciate them, and they have their place. But I don't find myself really going back to them at the moment.
I think there's one word for these two songs, and it is pointless. Imagine giving a stripped back song a stripped back version. It just makes no sense.
I really thought it was going to be more
gorgeous as it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was thinking maybe there's going to be more of this like piano break where it goes off, or maybe a different vocal
piano
take.
Track. Yeah, different.
Maybe a different vocal take where she's singing in a slower kind of tempo,
like
or
State of Grace acoustic, or like Forever and Always piano version. Like a proper piano
I guess
version,
that's what I was expecting.
The Lakes orchestral version rubbish. Like, it's just not it. Like, it's not it. I'm really sorry. Like, it sounds like some weird medieval. The intros sound like.
I kind of like that though. I love those remixes.
It honestly sounds like some strange medieval version. And Sweet Nothing, that one I literally can't stand. Like, Sweet Nothing is so gorgeous, and the production of the standard version is so gorgeous and works so well with the song and the way she sings it. Whereas it just sounds so chaotic, and it's not even really piano or a string. There's so many other instruments and rubbish going on.
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
It just totally distracts you from the song. I think the only redeeming factor is I liked a couple of the kind of vocal harmonies that were a bit more clear.
Yes, that is true. There is more. There is a clearness to it. That's why it's kind of stripped back, which I get the point of it. So that's kind of nice. But other than that, I do think this was kind of like Target asked for. We want a few tracks, and Taylor said, okay.
Yeah, we don't just like.
We're not giving the 3 a.m. We're not giving the 3 a.m. tracks though. You can have Hits Different, which is enough, to be honest. Hits Different.
Oh, I would buy this the Deluxe purely just for Hits Different. I love that song.
But I guess she was like, I'm not doing any more vocal takes for these two. You're gonna have to. Jack, get in there, remix it a little bit.
Yeah. What I would have loved was like Alvira remix of like Anti-Hero. Or something like that. Like, I want like a pop, like one of the pop tracks either should have been stripped, like Maroon piano, let's say, something like that. Would have been incredible. They
did really remind me of the Speak Now remixes that we mentioned. Like they're just there, they're there and they're okay.
Like the acoustic, then the US edition. It's just like, what's the difference? What is the difference? It's just like there's no real difference at all. Yeah, it's a shame, it's not
but
really giving anything. It is a shame because I was kind of excited, but I think
the
second I realised that You're On Your Own and Sweet Nothing
are already kind of calm and stripped back. Yeah,
it was like, well, what are they going to do? I just wish that, I think with remixes and stripped back versions, I want to hear a song that is very production heavy, like Maroon, Question, given a piano version, and a proper piano version like Forever and Always, and then Forever Always piano. That's what I want to hear. And then I would have liked an Alvira remix of Anti-Hero where she made it like a proper club hit. I would have loved that. But oh well.
Yeah,
but one thing that I will say, talking about You're On Your Own Kid, is since our recording where I was maybe a little harsh, I have become obsessed with this song. And good. I am already apologising for me dissing that track a little bit because I actually really do love it. It's still not my favourite track 5 just yet. Yeah. But even within a week or so, I'm already loving that track.
And with that, those are all the tracks that we got from the 3am edition plus the Lavender Deluxe edition, which are basically another CD all to themselves. Do we dare to give our top 5s once again like we did last episode? This time of
I'm ready to give what we've spoken about.
Okay, good. So go ahead. You can go first. What are your 5 from these, what we've spoken about today?
Okay, so these, unlike with Midnights, where I could definitely rank
Number
definitely
one.
say my favourite with Maroon, yeah, definitely. These, I think, are in a random order because at the moment,
me too.
I'm still very much digesting these a bit more than I am the standards. So my top 5 are definitely would've, could've, should've. Paris is in there. I love Paris. Hits Different, because I just love that song so much. Bigger Than the Whole Sky and The Great War, they're my top 5 at the moment. What about you? What are your top 5?
Okay, so my top 5, The Great War, High Infidelity, Deluxe, Would've, Could've, Should've, Hits Different.
Interesting.
So,
it's funny that we all cross over on certain ones and then other ones.
We're so
I
different.
put my little pop moment in there. I'm like, Paris.
Yeah, I'm like, no, give me the High Infidelity, give me the heart-wrenching. It's funny because this time around we've gone the other way. I'm usually more of the give me the little pop love songs. And you're usually more give me the heart-wrenching, although we do, in general, we do have heart-wrenching songs in both of our lists.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And it is weird, like I said, it is weird that I was drawn to Paris and have been drawn to Paris because it's not.
I think that's lovely.
That traditionally, is something. It's not, as we know, like the kind of stays of the world are just not.
Yeah, they're not typically your thing.
I'm normally the one throwing up in the street. You know, I'm like, nah, not my thing. But Hits Different in Paris, I just love them. I just think, I don't know, I just quite like sometimes just having a fun pop song that has no real,
why not,
kind of deep meaning. It's just
I guess the last
I'm
thing...
so in love that I might stop breathing, you know.
Exactly.
The over-dramaticness.
I guess the last thing that we can talk about, if we dare, would any of these top 5 rival or challenge our standard album top 5?
I think would've, could've, should've. Would've, could've, should've. It's so hard to say, it's like a tongue twister. Definitely, I think, has competition. At the moment, I wouldn't know what I would take out. I think it's very tough competition. I think I would definitely have to do one of the kind of song sorters.
Yeah.
And then from that, I would work out myself, from being kind of put in a situation if you have to pick, you know. But right now, I don't think I could. And I do think Hits Different with time and properly getting it on my phone and properly being able to listen
rival
to it
as well.
Definitely could rival, I think, 100%.
Funny enough, for me, is the ones that you left out of your top 5, High Infidelity and Glitch. I'm obsessed with them at the moment. And I do think they maybe could rival. I'm not sure which ones, though. Like you said, it's still very early days. I think we need to sit with it for a bit longer and then perhaps in the future revisit and give our kind of final, not final, but our rankings.
Yeah, I think with Glitch, lots of people that are big False God fans are massive Glitch fans. And are you a False God fan?
I mean, I don't dislike False God. It's not my favourite on.
Yeah,
let's say
I didn't think that. I was thinking, I didn't think that you were like, because I'm seeing lots of people that are like massive, like False God is like their favourite Taylor song ever.
Okay, and
like,
Glitch is the one for them. Okay,
yeah.
I don't know.
Which is interesting, yeah.
I don't know. False God, I quite like False God, but I wouldn't say like I'm a big False God fan. I don't know. It kind of caught me off guard as well because the 3am tracks, High Infidelity and Glitch at the beginning, I was struggling with both of them, and now they're my absolute favourite. So, like we said, this is very early days. This is very impromptu in a way. We need to process, and then perhaps we'll come back, you know, in a couple of months' time and be able to give more of a definitive ranking. But yeah, definitely, I'm so grateful that Taylor decided to put out these 3am tracks into the world because they just give so much story. There's so much to them. They're so deep, they're so heart-wrenching, and they're just really, really good. They're really solid.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, I just love having the more the merrier when it comes to Taylor songs.
For sure.
You can never ever have enough. And yeah, these songs are great, and I will be intrigued to see how in time, hopefully, we'll do an album retrospective like we have with Folklore and Evermore.
Yeah,
and then we can probably have a look at Midnights. And I think that would be a really interesting to properly then delve back into it. And then with more time and more kind of growth of the album and seeing the songs, you know, certain songs get music videos and the performances that certain songs get.
Exactly. Because it does change your opinion as you go along and see how they evolve and how they're sung.
100%. I remember
live.
For Reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Reputation with King of My Heart, when I saw that live, like I loved the song anyway, but I was like, wow. And that song just skyrocketed to like top 2.
Right.
So yeah, I think that, yeah, it'll be the same with Midnights. This stuff will definitely change. And even just, like I said, with the track 5, You're on Your Own Kid, already I'm like, no, actually I was being way too harsh. And because I forced myself to listen to it and was like, no, actually, I'm missing stuff. Like, why was I being stupid? So yeah, I think that, yeah, these songs, the 3am, we'll probably digest properly soon, and then Midnight's track listing and ranking will definitely kind of alter. But yeah, it is so exciting. It's so exciting to have a new Taylor album and to have 23 technically new songs to digest and fall in love with, because they're just so fun. And Taylor's songwriting and the versatility I love as well with Midnight's is that it
definitely we have really a bit of everything.
I think because it does span her whole, she says that, it's Midnight's throughout her life. I think that it also does then encapsulate all of the different sonic elements of Taylor's kind of career. We're not just kind of staying in the total pop moments. We've got those pop moments, we've got those sad love song moments, we've got those kind of very reflective songs, and we've just kind of got it all, and with Hits Different, we've got that old Taylor kind of creeping through, and then would have, could have, should have, we've got the Speak Now Taylor coming through. It's just, I love it that it's kind of this real kind of, it's like all the puzzle pieces together of Taylor and all of her different songwriting elements and abilities, the gel pens, the quill, and the fountain pen, it's perfect. I really, really love Midnight's, and I think that Midnight's is definitely kind of pushing up the album ranking at the moment.
I would not dare to say anything like that at the moment. It's a struggle for me because it's so new. So obviously it's our favourite thing.
It's not pushing the kind of my favourites, but at the moment I can see it. I'm starting to visualise it. Definitely, because it always starts at the bottom, because obviously you don't know really anything. But at the moment, it is creeping. I'm like, oh no, I definitely at the moment am preferring it to say this, or as an album as a whole, I'm like, I'm feeling that. So yeah, at the moment, it's interesting. I shall be intrigued how it ends up on the ranking. I'm seeing some people like rank it like top 3, 2. I'm like, wow, like it's early days to start, making big.
Well, the ranking Taylor albums in itself is almost impossible for me, because there's none that, like, how can I put something at the bottom? I just feel terrible. But apart from that, I just couldn't even, I couldn't even think about ranking this being so new and so fresh against all of the others. I need to sit with it. Perhaps, like you said, in a retrospective or on one of its anniversaries, or as we move through time, we can look back, rank the albums and the track list and go through them at that point. But at the moment, I guess people either hate it because it's new or love it because it's new, and there's no in between. So with that, we've come to the end of this episode. We hope you have enjoyed our reactions, our opinions on everything. Please let us know what your opinions were on these 3am tracks and these deluxe tracks. Did you enjoy them? Was it all a bit too much for you? Are you still processing them? Which one was your favourite? We also wanted to say a big thank you for 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's incredible to have reached such a big milestone. And, it's so nice that it worked out around the time of the Midnight's release. It's really poetic and really, really something that we're grateful for. We're also really excited at the moment and so very grateful for Spotify Podcast's official Instagram to have featured us on one of their posts as one of, the Taylor Swift podcasts who have been commenting on Midnight's and speaking about their excitement for the album release and theories and stuff. We could not believe it when we were actually on that post. We feel so privileged to have been featured by them and very, very thankful. It's just been a crazy week with Taylor music, with all of these milestones being hit and things going on. And we're just very grateful for all of you for listening, for commenting over on YouTube. We love seeing your opinions and speaking with you. And thank you so much for everything. And we do hope you've enjoyed our Midnight's reactions. This isn't the end for Midnight's content. We have a lot of cool stuff planned and coming soon. If you did enjoy and you do enjoy the podcast, make sure to rate us on Spotify or Apple Music. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube so you'll always keep up to date with when we're posting new things. Put notifications on if you never want to miss an episode, and we'll speak to you soon.